Hi, hello. It is 1 in the morning. I have had my fair share of the non-child's drink, and I am going to tell you why I think Overwatch 2 is dying. As if I haven't milked this subject enough on the main channel, and there's a very good reason why this is not on the main channel, because it's just going to be the ramblings of a very tired, very non-child drinkified guy. So yeah, here we go. So firstly, I'll cover this from my own perspective and my own opinions. So, in Overwatch 1, the main reason I stopped playing Overwatch 1 was because I felt that the reward system wasn't good enough. I felt that a loot box for every level up and a loot box for playing whatever arcade mode wasn't enough. It didn't feel rewarding enough to me, especially once you were over level 100 and you were getting duplicates in like every single loot box. But, fast forward to today, and those loot boxes seem like a fucking gift from God, and the stuff we have now is like not even a quarter as much rewards for what we did in Overwatch 1. So, with that in mind, me saying that I quit Overwatch 1 because I thought the reward system wasn't good enough, transition to Overwatch 2, where you're getting less than a quarter of what you got in Overwatch 1, and that's assuming you buy the Battle Pass. It makes the incentive to keep playing the game not very high. The gameplay is very fun. The improvements they made between the end of Overwatch 1's life and Overwatch 2 as it is now, there's clear improvements. 5v5 is better casually, and it is competitively, from what I understand. I'm not a huge competitive player. I'm not super high ranked, so I can't say much in that regard. But we've got to realize that in today's society, with the crazy amount of options we have to play, even from a free-to-play perspective, a game having very good gameplay, it's fun to play, isn't really enough nowadays. We're all extreme dopamine addicts. We want to feel like we're getting something for what we're doing. We want to feel like we're somehow being productive in some way, like getting something for the time we put in. So when, from my perspective, I wasn't getting enough for the time I put in when we were getting more than 4 times what we get now, you look at today and it's like, there isn't really much of a reason to keep playing. If you're not super enjoying the gameplay, then why keep playing? And that's the question I feel like a lot of people are asking right now. Is like, if I'm not having fun playing the game, what's the point of keeping on playing? Now, for people who are like addicted to the game, or so on and so forth, they could say, well, I'm grinding to get this skin. I'm grinding to, in Overwatch 2, unlock this hero, or whatever. But when you compare it to other games like Apex Legends, or any other free-to-play FPS, you get way less for the amount of time you put in this game. And there's a lot more stuff in the game to incentivize you to spend money than to spend time playing the game. It's like the ratio to time spent versus money spent is really disproportionate. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't balance out compared to other games. And what I mean by that is, just take the challenge system. The only way that you can earn premium currency, or the only way that you can unlock skins and stuff in Overwatch 2 without paying money, is through the weekly challenge system. In that weekly challenge system, at maximum, you can get 60 coins a week. That is assuming that you finish every single weekly challenge, and that would take you probably around 8 hours of in-game time. If you're like really grinding those challenges, that's like the whole point of your playing the game, is to finish the challenges. With those not 90, no, that's way too high. With those 60 coins, you can't get anything. There is not a single thing in Overwatch 2 that you can buy for 60 coins. The cheapest thing in Overwatch 2 that you can get is 100 coins, and that would be a spray or a voice line. And let's be honest here, who gives a shit about voice lines or sprays? If you have 110 coins, 120 coins, are you really gonna be spending that 100 coins on a spray or a fucking voice line? No. You're gonna save it up to, at very bare minimum, get like a blue skin. And more realistically, you're gonna get an epic or a legendary, a purple or a yellow. So the purple would be 1,000 coins. So that's 15 weeks of your time. And a yellow or legendary, 2,000 coins, that's 30 weeks of your time. The alternative, if you wanted to spend money, is $10 for 1,000 coins. So 15 weeks or $10. Like, this game is more of an investment than a game, it feels to me. It's like, for people who want to feel like they're getting something out of the time they put in, it's like, well, do I really want to spend 8 hours a week every week for 6 months so I can buy one skin and not a legendary or not a yellow, whatever? I always get them mixed up. So not a yellow but a purple. You want to spend 6 months doing that to get a purple? Or do I want to spend $10 and just have it? Most people who have at least the disposable income will be like, fuck that, I'm not spending that many hours of my life to get one skin. I'm just gonna spend the $10 so I can have the skin I want and then play the game. Now personally, I don't do this because it is so extraordinarily scummy to me, being someone who came from Overwatch 1, who you play the game for an hour and you have the potential of getting 4 skins, and you're very likely going to get a purple, at the very least purple skin. And your good chances, I'd say it was around like 12% chance per drop, and there's 4 drops per crate, so around, let's just round it down to 40% chance of getting an epic skin, yellow, whatever. And there's no alternative in Overwatch 2. It's like, I'm rambling, I know, I'm fucking drunk, but it's just that the respect for the customer or the consumer or the player, whatever you want to call yourself, is so insanely low now. Like, players are just viewed as bank accounts now. The quality of the skins, the quality of the game, none of that, all of that is secondary. The gameplay is good, like I said, but it's secondary. The primary thing is the shop. The primary thing is the battle pass. And the thing that you always gotta remember is, if you ever have played an FPS game on release, like Overwatch 2, if you played this game on release, like 90% of the people, for the first week the game was out, you were lucky if you could play the game. But the thing is, if you could get into the main menu, that shop was always working. No matter what, if you couldn't get into a game, if you got into a game and immediately were booted back out to the main menu, you know, didn't matter. But as soon as you were at that main menu, that shop was always working. Even when the servers were going down and everything, the shop was always working. And it's like that with every FPS game now. The shop is what matters the most. The option for people to spend extra money on a game that doesn't even work yet has to always be there. And that mentality is what's killing games in my mind today. Like, where the main motivation for the people at least trying to make money off of the game is to make sure the cosmetics and all that are top shape, and the ability to buy said cosmetics are always available. The game being functional, playable, balanced, or anything like that is all secondary. Take the problems with Bastion, if you remember at the beginning of Overwatch 2. That his ult, if you messed around, if you clicked and pressed the key to fire his ult on your keyboard at the same time, you could have infinite ammo in his ult. You could just be raining down hellfire on the enemy team. As long as your ult is active, you just have infinite ammo just on the enemy team. What was Overwatch 2's development team's solution to this problem? Take him out of the game for, I think it was like 2 weeks. Now, The problem was I believe it was 3 ammo. The specifics of the ammo count don't matter. But when you were on 1 ammo for Bastion's ult, if you press the fire key on your mouse and on the keyboard at the same time, it would consume 2 ammo, so you would go from 1 to -1. And in computer terms, in coding, when it goes to -1, unless there was stuff set up to specifically recognize that, oh, we're in the negatives now, there's something wrong, the game just counts that as a proper number. It's not like, oh, we're below 1 now. It's just like, oh, we're above 1. We're at 2 billion whatever. So technically, Bastion has 2 billion ammo now. The fix to this problem would just be if Bastion's ammo is equal to or less than 0 and his ult. That is 1 line of code. 1 line of code. Any person who has spent any amount of time coding would understand that that is an extraordinarily simple solution that someone who has been taking computer science in high school would understand. But it took them 2 weeks, I believe. It was a fair amount of time for 1 line of code for them to fix.
Get on point.
But the shop was never down. Or how about the fact that May was broken for a while? I don't remember the reason why she was taken out of the game, but she was out of the game for around the same amount of time that Bastion was. But there was a new skin for her in the shop when she wasn't even in the game. I mean, that right there, I think, proves my point enough. A character wasn't even in the game, yet they had the balls to sell a skin for a character that you could not play in any capacity at all. You could not play her in custom games, you could not play her in arcade. You would have to literally hack the game to get her in, and I believe if it wasn't for her, for Bastion, he was straight removed. Like, even if you hacked the game, the character did not exist if you tried to call them in through the console. But they'll still sell a skin for said character that legitimately does not exist in the game at that moment. That's fucked up. I mean, of course, we all understand that May wasn't going to be gone forever, or that Bastion was going to be gone forever, but the fact that they thought that it was okay, it's like, yeah, we'll sell a skin for this character that's not even in the game right now. They'll accept it. They'll just bend over and take whatever the fuck we give them, and they're right. Oh my god, the amount of hate I've gotten that was just completely baseless, making claims that make no fucking sense, defending these models and the pay models and everything. Well, you don't have to pay for it and shit like that. Like, yeah, sure, you don't have to pay for it, but when you compare their monetization system to Overwatch 1 or to any other free-to-play FPS game nowadays, Overwatch 1 was not free-to-play, but the amount of money spent would be way less. It's shit. Overwatch 2 is probably the most greedy FPS game I've ever played. Just straight up. Moving on from the monetization, because if anyone has seen the main channel videos, they would be very tired of this stuff by now. How about the fact that the gameplay is essentially the same as Overwatch 1's was in 2016? We're in 2023. It's been 7 years. And the biggest change to the gameplay of Overwatch is now there is 5 players on a team instead of 6. And a bunch of other ancillary parts of the game were completely removed, like the on-fire system, endorsing the enemy team, medals, and so on. They were just removed, just cuz. So the gameplay, while it is good, the stuff surrounding said gameplay has been kneecapped, or at the very least removed, for what I can see is no reason. So, completely ignoring any cosmetics and any greedy monetization, the game is less satisfying to play than Overwatch 1, while it is almost identical to Overwatch 1, just less satisfying because of no on fire, no medals, no endorsements for the enemy team. So when your gameplay is almost unchanged from a game that has existed for 7 years, the stuff surrounding said gameplay that makes you feel good for playing the game is removed, and the earning system is less than a quarter as good as the previous system, which was already flawed in its own right, that all adds together to form people quitting the game making very good sense. Like, besides feeling like your time is being well rewarded, like your time isn't being wasted, when at the end of the day playing games is a waste of time unless you're a fucking YouTuber who's actually making money or something. Like, it is a waste of time, but the whole point of these kind of games is to make it feel like this waste of time isn't a waste of time. And Overwatch 2 does a horrible job of that. It makes it feel like a job for those people who are too into it and want some sort of unlockable too much. So they're like, I just gotta complete the weekly challenges, man. I really want that skin. I really want this unlockable. It turns into a job for those people. And for the ones who are just spending tons of money, who just buy whatever skin comes out that they want, which about half, if not more, of the skins now are only buyable through like straight cash transactions. There isn't even an option to buy them through currency a lot of the time now. Like, for both parties, it makes the game less satisfying. For the person who just whips out their credit card and buys every skin, they have nothing to work for. Like, at the very most, they have the battle pass. If you buy tiers in the battle pass, there's something wrong with you unless you're a content creator. And if you don't, you're still getting a quarter of what you were getting in Overwatch 1 anyway. And I'm sorry, I know I said I was going to move past this, but it's intrinsically tied into the game. It's what makes it feel like your time is being rewarded in some way, and they do a horrible job of that. For the ones who are whales spending tons of money, they have nothing left to work towards. They have one skin per level, or one reward per level, and that's it. No actual level to work towards. Nothing. So it's just less satisfying to play in that regard, and for all the other stuff that's been taken out surrounding the game. It's just less satisfying when Overwatch 1 was dying because that game had its problems, and this one is like multiple times worse. I know I'm just talking and over myself and like repeating points, but it's just that this game could have been so much more. Though whoever decided to rush it out before there was a PvE mode, which was supposed to be like the main draw of Overwatch 2 that makes it different from Overwatch 1, the fact that they released the game more than 6 months before that was even out, it's not even out at the time of this recording, like, what the fuck's the point of playing Overwatch 2? If you don't have a PvE mode, if you don't have a good earning system, if you don't make the gameplay satisfying, what's the point of playing? Like, if you're a new player, the game it's fun. It feels good to play the game. But when you've been playing it for years, and it's practically unchanged, except for the parts that make it worse, besides 5v5, that doesn't make it worse, it's just like, why am I playing this? And me personally, I have not played Overwatch in 2 months. And I'm the only person of my friends who still has it installed. I don't know why I have it installed, honestly. The only times I've booted it up in the past 2 months was to record small little snippets for other videos, just like to prove points. Like, it's just not a fun game to play anymore. Ranked is fucked. You never feel like your ranking is right. You can play insanely well and then D-rank. You can win 7 games in a row and then D-rank. It's just not satisfying. You can't see your own rank. You never know where you stand compared to other people because you can't even see your own team's rank, let alone your enemy team's rank. You can't see other people's level. You can't do anything. Like, there's so much shit that's been kneecapped that it just makes me wonder why the fuck this is a game. Like, why did they delete Overwatch 1 and then release an inferior version of it as Overwatch 2? Like, for a while when Overwatch 2 came out, I thought to myself, well, like, if Overwatch 1 still existed as a separate thing to Overwatch 2, would I still want to play it? And for like the first month the game was out, I said to myself, no, I don't think I'd want to play it. There'd be less people. I didn't like how things were like in the meta and like the crazy amounts of shields and stuff towards the end of Overwatch 1. But now I honestly can say that I wish Overwatch 1 still existed. And I would be playing that game. I would genuinely be booting that up and playing that right now if it still existed, but I will not touch Overwatch 2. I might be in the minority. There's a lot of people who agree, a lot of people who disagree, but enjoying games for just the gameplay is the way that people should go. I think that is the way to go about your life. Like, if you're playing a game to feel like you're doing something productive, which I can't shame anybody for because I've been there before. I mean, idle games. If you play idle games, those are the epitome of making you feel like you're doing something worthwhile when you are literally just watching numbers go up and go down. You're not doing anything worth your time, but the thing is making you feel like you're doing something worth your time. For me, at least, Overwatch 2 does a very bad job of that. And that is partially a fault on me for feeling that I need that to make a game good. But it's a fault on them too, because that is like a huge part of their market. That's why loot boxes were a huge deal. That's why leveling up and stuff has been a part of FPS games since COD World at War, I believe. I mean, I think you could level up and stuff even before COD 4. So it's been a thing in FPS games for well over a decade because it feels good to feel like you're progressing. And when you take that out of the game, it makes the gameplay have to stand on its own. And for someone who's been playing the game for years and can see that at a base level it is practically unchanged to how it was 7 years ago, it's just not good enough to stand on its own. Without a good earning system, without a good thing to make you feel good for playing well, for playing for a long time, without any of that, for me personally, the gameplay just doesn't stand on its own because it's not different enough from original Overwatch to be worthwhile. Like, you play it for a couple hours, like probably like 12 hours of gameplay time, and then it's like, yep, this is the Overwatch I was playing a couple years ago. It just has 2 less people in the lobby. I can't get set on fire. I can't get medals. I can't see other people's ranks or their levels. And I can't even see my own MMR. Just sounds like a bad deal to me. End of story, I guess. This video has no reason to be this long, but I rambled repeated points, and that is the point of this video, just for me to have a stream of consciousness, let you know the full opinion of me with no filter, and that's that. I had problems with Overwatch 1. I stopped playing it probably 3 years before Overwatch 2 came out, and for there to be a 3-year gap and it to feel practically the same is pretty sad. And for the main advertising point of Overwatch 2 to be its PvE mode, and it not even existing at this point, today, on February 2nd, 2023, when the game came out in October 2022, there's something wrong there. It's been 1, 2, 3, 4.5 months. Or whatever. It's been enough months for the reason for this game's existence to be in the fucking game at this point. In my opinion, like, what reason, if both games existed right now, what reason would there to be playing, what reason would there to be to play Overwatch 2 over Overwatch 1? Ignoring player counts and like queue times and stuff, assuming you would get into a game in the exact same amount of time between games, what reason is there to play Overwatch 2 over Overwatch 1? The only thing I can think is if you really hated the way the meta worked in Overwatch 1 at the end, which I can understand. I don't remember how it was at the very end because I wasn't playing the game. But even with that in mind, I would still prefer Overwatch 1, in my opinion. It's just a more fun game to me. There's more to it. I mean, I think the thing that encapsulates this all, the thing that wraps it all up in a nice bow for me, is Overwatch 1 felt like a game that people who were working on it really cared about. They wanted to make a fun game that people would play for years. Overwatch 2 feels like a product. It feels like a product that was made to sell as many skins and cosmetics as possible. It doesn't feel like a single soul that had any real power creating this game gave a shit about it being fun. That's just how it feels to me. I mean, it's a good game from a free-to-play perspective, but compared to Overwatch 1, it's trash. It's garbage. It feels like something that was made purely to make money, which at the end of the day, that is why games are made. Games are made so that whoever made them makes some money. That's true, I'm not stupid. But you can make a game to make money without that being the sole focus. You can make a really good game that people enjoy, and if it's a really good game that people want to keep playing, it's gonna make money. You don't have to make the main focus nickel and diming every player that's just gonna keep playing your game anyway, because you're gonna be left with only those whales 2 months into the gameplay life, because anyone who has half a brain or a little bit of respect for their wallet is gonna stop playing the game, in my opinion. If you like the game, if you keep playing it and you spend money on it, good for you. I'm glad that you enjoy the game, and I'm glad that you feel like you're getting your money's worth for it. Me personally, I think it's a greedy, scummy, lazy, gross excuse for a sequel. Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna go get another non-child's drink and go the fuck to bed. Hope you enjoyed. Nighty-night.